Let's talk about the Switch Joy-Con, left Joy-Cons being produced by Hori, the name you can trust. These are scheduled to come out locally here in September. I believe they came out in Japan first.
Yes.
But I think because we were arguing whether or not we actually talked about it in the podcast. Where I don't remember.
We might not have. I know we looked at the article though.
We didn't get past the patenting and filter pre-podcast filter. But now, coming in September, these are officially licensed, obviously. Left Joy-Cons for handheld mode only that have a real D-pad, a real directional connected pad, not this bullshit 4 circular button thing that makes it impossible to play Sly Spy, for example. So they're going to retail for $25. You're going to have 2 types to choose from, a reddish Super Mario one and a darkish with gold little trim Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild version. So what to know about this is, obviously I have not touched the D-pad. I would assume the D-pad is not too rough or too mushy, and that it's a functional D-pad. It looks like a traditional D-pad. It's not a circle around it. It's a D-pad that you can rock back and forth. So there's going to be no Bluetooth feature on this, no gyro sensor, no HD rumble, okay, no battery, and no SR buttons, the ones on the top. So
there's no buttons either?
No, you're just getting the D-pad, it looks like, and you're getting a single trigger on the top, but I guess not the ones behind.
Huh.
Right?
Weird.
So this is a budget solution to wanting a D-pad, right?
Right.
But I guess you're going to have to decide before you buy this, what games will this be useful for? Obviously, arcade-style games, old platformer games,
right?
Nintendo, Super Nintendo. But if you wanted to play something like Breath of the Wild or something newer, you might need those extra buttons behind. I don't know. You might want the rumble for a game like that, where you can detect those little, what the hell, those things you find in Breath of the Wild that are all over the place.
The Korok seeds.
Yeah, things like that. I played the game, I know. I put 25 hours in the Breath of the Wild before I get back to the rest of my life. But so on the surface, I think this is a fine idea as long as they're really clear about what this is for. In handheld mode only, to me, is a semi-killer, but for most people, they only play in handheld mode, so they're not going to care. But for me, not having the HD rumble and the extra buttons and the gyro sensor, not really. I don't give a shit about that as much. But to me, that's where it's going to not be as good. I need the Bluetooth, I would think, because there'll be times I want to even just put it out in front of me and just step back in my couch and have it not be right in front of my face and just hold them in my hands. And so this is a good bridge to that point where we're probably going to get to, where we're going to get hopefully an official left Joy-Con that has everything the original Nintendo one has, but has a real D-pad. I'm hoping we get to that point, because I'll be in. If that's a $50, $60 item just for one, I will buy that with all the functions and a real D-pad. I would do that.
Yeah, so would I. I'm not real into this half measure here. I would totally pay full price for a fully featured one with a D-pad. My problem is, for many games, I am okay with using the buttons. For many, I'm okay with it. The 4 circle buttons. There are a few that I'm not, and for those I would like a D-pad, and I have no real good options. The D-pad on the Pro controller sucks.
It does?
Yeah, it's fucking awful.
What does that cost? $70 for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good controller for everything. I mean, there is.
But that'd be the only reason I would buy that thing. Would be for that.
It's great for the modern style games that use the analogs and stuff like that. So very few modern games use a D-pad for anything that requires precision. But yeah, there's the biggest flaw with the Switch right now is there's almost nothing that really. There's really no good control method for 2D games.
Or arcade-style games.
Yeah. Because while the circle pad is fine for me or the whatever you want to call it, the control pad with the 4 circles is fine for me for certain things. It works for puzzle games and stuff like that. That works fine.
Too loose for platformers. Too loose for arcade games.
If they were just squeezed together a little bit more, it would be fine. Because I was always fine with the Sony D-pad, which is 4 segmented buttons as well. But
Well, I'm talking about the actual the joystick being too loose to use.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
It's not precise enough.
Right.
For digital.
It's rough. Yeah, the
Both options stink.
The control situation is not ideal for a lot of 2D platformers.
I understand that Nintendo want to sell their extra controllers, but I think they were short-sighted and not just putting a regular D-pad on it.
Well, I mean, there has to be another reason, because for them to not have done it, I don't think it was to sell additional controllers.
It's the first time they didn't put a D-pad on one of their systems by default.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's insane.
That it's not to sell additional controllers, because they know people would use this in handheld mode. I don't know why they didn't.
No, I'm talking about Nintendo not doing it.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't. It wouldn't be to. I'm saying it doesn't make sense to sell additional controllers, because they didn't provide an additional controller to sell.
Well, the Pro they did. That's what I mean.
I mean, and for handheld.
For handheld, yes. Like, I was surprised it didn't come out yet. I think we're going to get to that point. I always said about doing like an NES-style Joy-Con or Super Nintendo Joy-Con. It's easy to do that. I think we're going to get to that point once they realize it. What did I just see? What did you just see? They've already sold almost 2 million more NES classics after they re-released it.
Really?
Which is about the amount they almost sold when they first came out with it. So there's going to be a market there for this. Nintendo should be able to do this on their own, unless they don't want to bother with it. But I don't know. Maybe they don't want to feel like relying on their old D-pad anymore. They wanted to move on. But it's a reason why it's the predominant style controller method after 1985. There's a reason why everyone was trying to get their claws on it and had to come up with half measures, because Nintendo patented it for so long that the Genesis one was different, and the TurboGrafx one was not exactly the same. So, okay. I'm probably going to buy one of these, but not be satisfied, like what we said, because you have to have it docked. And by the way, there was they're working on a fix, because right now, at least the one in Japan, if you leave it in your Switch and it's in sleep mode, it drains the battery of your Switch. It's constantly drawing power, that left Joy-Con. So that's a bad thing, but they're working on it, I think, for the US.
In the first article we were looking at, it actually says that it's been officially confirmed that the fix will be in place before they're released here in September.
So that's good, because that would be really bad. If, say, you're on the plane, right, and you fall asleep, and you put in sleep mode on your, and then you wake up and you can no longer play your game because your Switch is dead, or because it's drawing that power because it has no internal battery in order to survive on its own.
This sounds like the most begrudging $25 you could ever get someone to spend. I
understand why, though. I understand why, though, because you can buy 2 regular Joy-Cons licensed for like $60 new, right?
I think it's $70.
So if they only did $50 for one, people would be like, "What the fuck? It's not a Nintendo first party item. What am I doing?" But all they got to do is put a battery in there and put the fucking HD rumble. How much? I don't know how much that would cost per unit, but that's all I would need to be satisfied. Even the extra buttons, I probably wouldn't care as much about in the back, because I don't know how many games would use those extra buttons. But all right,
Fortnite.
That Fortnite life.